Hello, welcome to Recentered, episode 16. My name is Gary from the YouTube channel Immersed Robot, and this is a podcast all about VR and AR, and we're going to be talking about all of that stuff for the next hour and a half or so. But joining me, as always, is Rog, also known as Fluke Rogie, and Lee from the YouTube channel DAZEDNETIC'S, which you'll find a link to in the description of this video, and on the audio podcast platform as well. And by the way, do leave us a review on the audio podcast platform that you choose, Apple or whatever. It will be very much appreciated. And we're going to get into what we've been playing first of all. But before that, let's have a quick catch up with everyone. Lee, I'm going to go over to you first this week. Bit odd, but let's do it. Lee, what have you been up to?
Last couple of weeks, mainly trying to get videos out. I've done quite a few recordings. Some have yet to come out. Playing the games we're going to be talking about. I've actually played quite a bit of VR and also some games that I'd actually forgot I'd played until someone put a video out earlier on today. And I thought, oh yeah, I did play that. I remember. So yeah, just really been doing that and enjoying the nice weather for a change after the snow came, and then it was nice and sunny. Yeah. So yeah, I've been enjoying that.
Yeah, there's been a fair bit of rain where I am as well, but yeah, the snow caused like massive floods as well. There was floods all over the place as well because it all came down and then it all melted in like a few hours. It seems
it was like a standstill for like 2 days, and then it was nothing. Then it was like red hot again.
yeah. Rog, how about you? How are you?
I'm feeling relegated, actually.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. I thought I'm going to have to mix things up though.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Same old, really. You'll be absolutely shocked to learn that I've been playing yet more Res Infinite. I am now. I need one more trophy for it to get my platinum on that, and Thumper as well. Been hammering Thumper. I've now S ranked levels 1 to 5. I finished 6. I'm currently going through 7, but I'm going to try and I'm going to go through the platinum on it, definitely, but I don't know if my reaction times are really up to it because it's becoming ridiculously fast.
So, right.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Aside from that, thanks to my mate Tim, I've got a replacement OG PSVR, so that's been plugged in, and I'll get onto some thoughts of that when we talk about Switchback later. But yeah, so I've got a replacement for that, so happy with that because I was playing a few things when my original PSVR died a few months back.
Yeah, it's good. We'll get into a couple of comparisons and stuff with Switchback in a bit as well. So yeah, we'll be getting to Switchback because it's been one of the main new releases, especially because it's on a new platform, the PSVR 2 as well. So Lee and Rog will be able to talk about that in quite some detail later. I've been not playing hardly any VR the past couple of weeks. I've been I did pick up Inside on the Steam sale though, a flat game, which I've been playing on my Steam Deck a little bit, not too much. It's been a little bit busy, so I thought I'd just get this Inside, which is an older game, which is something that I've looked at for a long time. I played the demo back on the PS4 ages ago, and I thought it's £1.69 on Steam. It's in the sales, so why don't I pick it up? Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. It's pretty good. That's
an absolute bargain. Inside's a great game. If you're listening and you've never heard of it, it's basically sort of a Limbo sequel type, spiritual successor type thing, isn't it? It's very much in the same sort of vein, but yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Limbo, but not too much. But this one just caught my attention. I remember watching and reading some reviews when it was first released, and it seemed quite an interesting kind of concept, really. Some of the story beats that are going on in it, and I'm sort of getting to some of those. I've only put in about an hour so far. I don't know how long it is. I assume it's one of like a shorter kind of game, 4 or 5 hours maybe, but yeah, it's pretty good so far. It's one of those games that is really well suited to Steam Deck as well. I can just sort of play on the sofa. Yeah, it works really well on that.
Yeah, it's a side scroller, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, I bought Limbo. I'm sure it would have been Xbox 360 when it came out on that. It was like £6. It was like one of those games you could buy. I can't remember what they were called back in the time, but I remember playing that thinking how amazing it was. And then they did that Inside, didn't they? And I think some of the devs have just done the new game as well. Oh, what's it called? I'm going to have to Google it. Keep talking.
Yeah, I don't know that one actually. Yeah, there was because I know they did Limbo, and although it looked interesting to me, I just never, for one reason or another, I did play. I think there was a demo of that as well, so I played a little bit of that, and Inside just sort of looked a little bit more intriguing to me. I know it's got sort of some slightly horror elements to it. I don't know, something like that anyway. But
Somerville, that's it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's just come out not long back. I think it's by some of the same dev team, I believe.
Yeah.
Might be worth having a look at.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking at. But we'll get into some more Steam sales stuff a bit later on anyway, some more VR-focused stuff. So, we'll talk about that in a bit. But let's get into what we've been playing this week. So, Lee, I'll go over to you first. Guardians Frontline. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, this is the first time I'd heard of the game. I know it's been out quite a while, like in early access, hasn't it, for Meta and Steam. But Game on Scorpio very kindly asked me if I wanted a key to jump in with him on a Saturday. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll come and give it a go. My first impressions was it's very much like Halo 2 maybe, with some Starship Troopers thrown in. So if you like those type of things, then I think you will quite enjoy it. And there's a few different parts of the game. When you start off, you're in like a massive spaceship above a planet, and your main screen is giving you the options of what you want to play. So you can play the campaign, there's a galaxy conquest, you can create a game for someone to join, and there's also a map editor as well, which is quite clever. So you can actually create your own maps and put them out there for other people to play. But I'm all about the campaign, and we jumped in that. You can have co-op up to 4 players, I think, and we went in that, and you gradually upgrade your weapons, and it's got some RTS elements to it as well. So not only is it a first-person shooter, you can go, I think it's a tactical screen, you click on that, and it shoots you high above, as if, when you finish Walkabout mini golf, you've got this top-down view of it, and then you can set out your droids or where you want to put things and cannons, and as you're shooting things, you're upgrading, you get money for stuff so you can put things down and upgrade things like that. So, yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I had a really good time playing it. The only thing that I do wish they got it is I wish they got some sort of story mode to it. Even though it's a campaign, it's more like map-based, so you'll have objectives like protect this or escort this to a certain area. So there are maps to that. But apart from that, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good fun.
Yeah, I'd love a campaign with this, like a proper campaign, like with a story and that kind of that kind of Halo campaign. That is what would draw me into this. But it looks very Halo, like the guns and everything.
Yeah,
they've definitely stylized it on that, haven't they? As well.
I only got a couple of guns as well. I think I just got the main rifle and a pulse cannon, but you've got gravity guns. There's giant rocket launchers. There's all sorts of guns you can pick up. And you sort of mine the crystals as well. So you kind of put this mine down to mine the crystals and use those to upgrade certain parts of your weapons back in the spaceship or back in your home, so to speak. But yeah, I think 4-player this would be really good fun. I think it's about 11 missions maybe on the campain. And
I quite like the strategic element as well, where you've got that where you are sort of placing parts on the map and stuff like that. There was that game. Do you remember that this older game, like from 2016? I can't remember now. It's like a stylized polygon kind of war game where you could sort of look out at the map overall, plan your strategy, place people around, and then you could go into like a first person. And I can't remember the name of it now. But there was a game that was released that did a similar kind of thing anyway, and that was pretty good. But this seems to be building on it in quite a good way.
They get a good community as well. The Galaxy Conquest is all of the maps that people's created, and you've got so many controlled by Earth or whatever, and then all the aliens control the others. So the aim is once you've got to try and collect and get all those other planets as well. So there's quite a lot to it.
Yeah. The video I'm showing at the minute, it's from it's Game on Scorpio, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So thanks to Game on Scorpio for letting me use this footage. And if you want a more in-depth tutorial about what to do, because I'm not really great at giving out game tutorials, I'm not really great at gaming. So, yeah, go check your channel out and you'll be able to check that video out and get a better idea of it.
Yeah. It's it looks interesting. Definitely Halo vibes, so there's no doubt
big
about
time,
that.
Yeah, just even with the shading of it in the maps, it just look very, very similar.
Yeah.
They definitely took inspiration from it. Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, because I remember hearing when we were talking because we played a bit of Walkabout mini golf as well, all of us together, and I remember mentioning in that I'd listened to Coffee and VR and the reality, and they were talking about it, and I don't think they were quite impressed with it for one reason or another, and I don't know, I think they were expecting a little bit more maybe, but you had a good time in there anyway.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what time I had. I mean, I'd like to jump back in it again. I mean, the one point I jumped in like a giant mech. I know I was like shooting around with that. That did make me feel a bit motion sick, but that was quite cool to jump in as well. So there are things you can jump in. Yeah.
Well, mentioning Walkabout mini golf, we can probably get onto that because we all played a little bit of the new course, didn't we? We went through Upside Town. I think you guys played before, and then we all jumped in on Friday, was it? Something like that?
Yeah.
And played through a round of that. So, what do you think of that, Rog?
The first time I played it, I wasn't overall massively impressed with it, to be honest. I liked it visually, but a lot of the holes are sort of like either start flat as you'd normally expect, but then reverse gravity and go up onto the wall or even onto the ceilings. And when you're doing those shots on the walls and ceilings, it becomes really tricky and just, I don't know, it took me out of the game a little bit. I've played it a few times since, say, like that first time we all played it together, and it's grown on me, I must admit. The very first time I played it, I was not a fan. But now I've played it a few more times, it's sort of grown on me, and it's good. It's definitely different to all the other courses they've done. Yeah,
it's I think I like the idea of it, and I think as well when you get outside and you can see all the way up and all the way down when you're working your way up this course, I think that it looks really, really good.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit awkward to play. That was my main thing with it. It just felt a little bit awkward. Some of the shots and stuff, not quite as comfortable as it is to play some of the other courses. That was my main takeaway from it. But, they're all really good courses anyway, so you've not got a lot to complain about. But it just, this one, maybe it's not one that I would choose over a few of the others anyway. I'll put it that way. Lee, what about you? What did you think of this?
Yeah, just echo what Rog said, really. I mean, I struggle a bit because I struggle with like looking up and moving around like that anyway. But I did find when some of the shots were on the ceiling, and you usually press trigger, don't you, to go to your board, and it lines you up pretty good. Even though I was pressing trigger, it was moving me off a little bit. And so I was really struggling to try and get to where I could get my club, where I would do if I was playing it the right way up, if that makes sense to people listening.
It's like you say, when you press the trigger, it usually places you in the right spot for where the ball is, but for whatever reason, and maybe I have had this actually, thinking about it now I'm talking about it, maybe I have had this as well before, where it doesn't quite position you where you want it to position you in your play space, but anyway, it just seemed a little bit off in some positions on that. But it's still a good course. It's difficult because they release a new course and it's going to be pretty good quality and you're going to have a good time in there no matter what anyway. So even if you try to be a little bit critical on it in certain parts, you still know that it's, I think it's the fact that they're releasing all these courses and experimenting a little bit more with what they can do is a good thing anyway. And I should probably buy this one.
But like you said, when you come out of the cafe and that, you've got like a small area as such, and you look right up, and it is really impressive how they've got the scale down. And then you are going up the course, like you said, you're going up the buildings, and then you can look right down. It did give me a bit of jelly legs now and again. Yeah,
it looks good, those parts. I do like it, actually, that aspect of it.
Yeah. And again, £3, it's an absolute no-brainer. Even if you only played it a couple of times, you'll easily get your money's worth.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So the next one on the list is ArkandAde, which is one that was previously called Arcade, I'll get into, because I did actually play this ages ago, but it was on like a one of those Steam Next Fest or one of the Steam VR Fests, whatever it was.
Right.
I downloaded the demo of it ages ago, but I'll let you guys talk about it because you've played it recently. So Rog, what do you think of it?
Yeah, well, I picked this up on, I can't remember whether it was SideQuest or App Lab ages ago now. But it's, I think a couple of weeks ago, it's finally come out on the main store, and it's on Steam as well. And I think somewhere in the region of around about £7 to £8. So it's not a lot. And basically, it's an arcade first-person shooter. And the sort of premise is you're inside like an arcade machine or something, and it's sort of like that low-poly, neon-style, vector graphic sort of look. And you sort of make your way from one end of a level to another, and it's all about keeping your score multiplier up and getting a high score, and that's it really. But I don't know, I like it. It's just well done. It is what it is, but I don't know. It did some. I don't know what it was, but it just did something right for me. It just, I prefer this to something like Compound, for example, and this is this is a way more linear game compared to something like Compound is.
I was just going to say, because I'm watching some of the footage that you recorded actually, and it seems to have some elements of Compound at least anyway, not just like in the visuals necessarily, but also in some parts of the gameplay. But this was because I mentioned I played this on one of those Steam Next Fest things. I don't even know if it was last year or the year before, but it was very early on. And you know how it is with those. I honestly don't know if it does devs a benefit to be on that, because there's so many things that get released and you jump in them for 5 minutes and then you're on to the next one very quickly, just because you think these are early demos. There's not a lot, they're sort of testing the waters in some way. So I don't know if it does the devs any favors to do this. And that's how I remember it. I remember going in, but thinking this was, pretty good, but it didn't grab me in any particular way. But obviously they've been developing it for a long time now. But Lee, what did you think of it?
I thought it was really good. I just want to thank the devs as well, because they did actually send me a key out a while back. So I did have it on my Quest 2, but just never had a chance to play it. And I did pick this up maybe a year ago on Steam. It was like something really crazy, like 79p. That was all it was. And
they did do an app. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, they did do Go on.
Oh, we need video. We desperately need video.
Yeah, we need.
So we can see. Yeah,
I didn't even know it was on App Lab, to be honest. But yeah,
they did a crazy promotion while it was in development ages ago. I picked it up really cheap on Quest, but yeah.
But yeah, the Quest version is quite cool. When it's heavily inspired by Tron, I would say. If you're a fan of Tron, you're going to love playing this. And I really enjoyed it this afternoon.
It's got that grid floor, hasn't it? That kind of grid floor.
And even some
Tron
of the bad
thing.
deals look a bit like the ones out of Tron as well. And I do like the weapons, and it's like you say, it's an arcade shooter in an arcade, which is really weird. But you're shooting things around, so you'll see a heart, so it'll put your health back to up to 100%. You're kind of guiding this cube through, right, Rog? And you've got to get it to the main terminal where it'll try and disrupt something, or that's from what I could gather anyway. And then you fight the big boss. But yeah, I really liked it, and I didn't even realise. Even right at the beginning, when you start the game, it kind of sucks you into the arcade, like as if a bit Tron-like as well. And I didn't even realise I was actually in the arcade machine till I beat the first boss, and I looked up to the right and I could see like the high scores, and it's like the window of the arcade machine. I didn't even know that until today. That's
kind of that Duck Hunt kind of thing that they were doing as well, where you're actually in the TV playing the game. And I've got to say, just watching the footage now, actually, it looks a lot more visually impressive than I remember when I played it either last year or the year before. It feels like a long time ago when I played it on Steam, on that Steam Next Fest thing. But it looks like they've got a lot more visual effects in it and stuff. So
there's not a lot of difference between that and the PC VR version, from what I can remember.
No. I mean that footage is from the Quest version, and it's it's nice and clear in the headset and everything. It's
nice. Okay, well, we should probably get on to Switchback. That's one of the big titles that has come out over the past few weeks, and I think the reception, it's safe to say it's been a little bit mixed on this one, hasn't it? So, well, Rog, let me go over to you first on this. What did you think of
Grab
Switchback?
the popcorn, folks.
Yeah, we're gonna. Oh, yeah, we're gonna have a bit of a fight here as well. We're gonna have fight.
A normal conversation about it, which I did post.
No, I don't. I don't want
Twitter
any of that.
well.
I don't want any of that normal conversation. I want absolute fight going on. Like, go on, Rog.
Right? Yeah, I've. Right, in one word, disappointed. I've been quite looking forward to this because I really did enjoy Rush of Blood back on the OG PSVR. And so I was really looking forward to this. We'd had a quote from somebody who worked there saying it was going to be 90 hertz native. It isn't. It's 60 FPS reprojected, which, for the most part, in this, it's another one of those games that kind of gets away with it again because you're not using a thumbstick to rotate around and everything. And because a lot of it is in a really dark scene, it sort of really masks the reprojection. I could see it on my hand in a lit up area. I could see the reprojection on the hand moving. But when you look when it goes sort of into a darker scene and you move your hand about, it really does sort of hide that double image. It's the reprojection isn't too much of a problem. The main problem is the resolution, which is I was going to make a joke at the beginning during the introductions. You know, when you asked me how I was going to say something like I was really worried about my eyesight earlier on this week, but then I realised I was playing Switchback. But I totally forgot. It's just it's not good. It's a really soft image. If you throw No Man's Sky out of the equation, the PSVR 2 version of that, this is the blurriest looking game I've seen on PSVR 2 to date. It's not clear. It's a really, really soft image. I've seen people moan about the quality of some of the textures and things and saying that they don't look great. But in all honesty, for me, the resolution is that low. It's that blurry. I can't really make a judgment on the actual sort of in-game assets because I can't see them clearly. It really does look that sort of poor to me. Now, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, quite a few people have been saying on various forums that this just looks like a PSVR game. It just looks like Rush of Blood. It looks like it was made for that. I went into Rush of Blood literally 3 or 4 hours ago. I think people are forgetting how bad that game looks now. I was shocked. It pretty much blew my mind how bad Rush of Blood on PSVR looks now. Just
for the video podcast version of this, I am showing. I've transitioned over to Rush of Blood, but I've got to be honest. I was showing some of your playback, Rog, from Switchback. Switched over to Rush of Blood, and actually on the monitor it doesn't look that different. But of course it's different in the headset. So just wanted to make people aware.
It is, but it also brings up another thing: the difference between PSVR and PSVR 2. And we've sort of mentioned this before about the Miura not looking as bad on PSVR 2 to the point that it generally doesn't bother me at all. And I went, and the Miura on PSVR, on the OG one, is awful. It's absolutely horrendous. I cannot believe nobody ever said I cannot see it. Yeah, right. Because on Switchback, I could see it in places. Generally, in the light beams coming off the torches off your guns, I could see it in that. But generally speaking, for most of the other areas or whatever, I just couldn't see it. On Rush of Blood, it's instantly there. It's in front of your face, and it's there, covering your whole view all of the time. Even in the pitch black dark areas, there's a Miura layer over the top of it, and that doesn't now on pitch. I think we've gone on about this before, but in a pitch black area on PSVR 2, pitch black is black. There's no Miura overlaid.
That's one of the things. I think we mentioned that when we were discussing it in Walkabout. That is one of the things. Yeah. That I did notice on PSVR 2, like with the pitch black, it is generally pitch black. I didn't see any Miura with that. It was on different scenes that I saw the Miura. So I remember seeing it on the darker scenes in the original PSVR, but that's not necessarily the case in the PSVR 2.
But playing Rush of Blood, it was there all the time. And it was obvious, and it was way worse than any Miura on PSVR 2. It's awful. But the thing as well was that I think coupled with the sort of the resolution of PSVR 1, it just looked low res. It looked grainy. There was the lack of fidelity was horrific. So Switchback does not look as bad as as Rush of Blood on PSVR 1. If you think it does, you've literally forgotten. You're remembering. You sort of, I'll say it's nostalgia. It's not that long back, but you're sort of remembering it better than it was. But I think Rush of Blood also rendered at a low res, because I went into Tiny Tracks on PSVR 1 as well, the slot car Scalextric racing game I'd been playing before, and I had half an hour on that. And yeah, okay, it's low res compared to sort of like headsets now, but it still looked okay. I mean, compared to Rush of Blood, it looked sharp. Yeah, comparatively speaking, there was a clear difference. So I think Rush of Blood was rendering at a sub-native resolution on PSVR 1 originally. I think people have forgotten. But
Sorry, I was going to say there was definitely some games on the original PSVR that did look sharp. I mean, there was definitely some that were, even in spite of the low resolution of that headset, I remember thinking at the time that this looks equally as sharp, if not more sharp, than like some of the Rift games and super sampling on PC in places. So there's a lot that can do with that. But yeah.
I think those games were sort of few and far between and all that. So I always thought the Rift was generally just a sharper headset, even though you could see the screen door. That's another thing that surprised me on PSVR 1 as well. I can see the screen door clearly now. Absolutely unbelievable. I used to be able to see it if I really looked for it, but I went in this time because it sort of manifests as a grid of dots more than anything, rather than like an actual clear grid. But it was clear as day to me going back into the PSVR 1 now. It's like that surprised me, really did surprise me. But back to Switchback, the game itself is just, I don't think it's as good as Rush of Blood. The levels are longer, and that's not a good thing. They've dragged it out. The amount of downtime in some of the levels is just bad. You get puzzles in it now, which sort of generally revolve around shooting some things in the right order, or getting the timing right when you're shooting things, or figuring something out. And when we were playing Walkabout, I was telling you about that one where there's somebody being burnt at the stake, and I messed up a couple of times. There's something that can kill you. So by I think the third time I was going around went onto it and going around that part of the track, I was literally bored. Playing an arcade on rails game shooter, I was actually bored, and so I just shot the Switch to take me on to the next part of the track. I thought, let her burn, I don't care. It's just it's not as good. The whole setup isn't either. On Rush of Blood, you've got like the carnival guy talking to you at the beginning and leading you into it and everything, and making quips and everything before he sort of rides off on his cart, and between levels as well, he's talking to you, and there's sort of none of that. There's this weird thing where it seems to be you're in a train wreck, possibly. Spoilers, but you're not playing this for a story. And the actual cutscenes where you're sort of looking at this train wreck there's no excuse. It's just blurred beyond belief. It is terrible. It really is bad. I think they're even sort of exaggerating it because there's supposed to be flames, and I suppose there's heat haze and stuff and everything. So I think they're putting like effects over an already what I'd consider a blurry image, and it just looks awful. And I just can't get past it. I really can't. I think the game itself is fine. It's okay. It's an arcade rail shooter. It's not as good as the first one. Less would have been more. Just because they've made the levels longer on this isn't a good thing. But I really don't want to play it until, well, they say they put out a statement, didn't they, saying they've identified a problem.
Yeah, shall I just read that out actually while we're talking about that now? But yeah, they put out a statement on Twitter, and they said, since the launch of Switchback VR yesterday, we have seen and heard the feedback that some players are experiencing graphical issues in the game. Switchback VR was developed exclusively for PSVR 2, and we want to ensure that all of our players have the best possible experience while playing. The Switchback VR team have been investigating the issues raised as a matter of urgency. So far, a potential cause of the reported blurring has been identified, with other issues still undergoing testing and reproduction. While the team continue to investigate these issues, we welcome additional reports via our Zendesk portal. We appreciate your patience and understanding in the meantime, and please rest assured that we will share additional communications regarding these issues when more information is available. So yeah, they posted that a few days ago, like before the weekend, I think it was, because there were quite a few. I was watching this on like Reddit and stuff like that. People, as I mentioned really at the beginning, some people were saying it's fine, others saying it's really bad, and the reviews were, in fact, today. Or I was looking on Upload VR because they gave it a pretty good review on there as well, and I can't remember who reviewed it on there, but they mentioned this tweet from Supermassive Games, and they said that they didn't experience any blurring, which probably leads us quite nicely into Lee, because we're balanced on this podcast, if nothing else. So, Lee, why don't you give us some of your impressions on Switchback?
Right, I'll just start off first by saying I've not been paid by Supermassive to say any of this. I have no contact with the developers. They don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, it is the most fun I've had in VR this year so far. This is why it's going to get really weird. It's like the Twilight Zone. I played it. I even commented on my video and said to PD how good the graphics were. And, you know, it's atmospheric. It was fantastic. I had great fun with the guns. It was fast-paced. I had no graphical issues. Apart from, maybe like when Roger says you do have the train parts, it did look slightly blurry, but it was nothing major. And, I'm just really confused about other people's, how they've seen it and how it's been playing. But if it is a problem, then perhaps some people are getting it and some people aren't, because honestly, it was absolutely flawless for me. And the resolution was fine. It was really high res. So I'm really confused.
Bizarre, isn't it?
There's no way on this planet I could ever describe that game as high res as I've seen it.
Yeah, this is what I mean, because usually we're pretty good together, aren't we? I mean, we do, if something's not right in a game, we'll say it, and we both do. But with this, I was really shocked at people saying how bad it was. I'm like, well, that's weird, because that's not the game that I played. And I know Ben put a video out and got quite a lot of hate for it, which I don't condone, by the way, so please don't put comments like that. But I mean, they don't in your videos anyway. But yeah, you got quite a few nasty comments about it. But if Ben's playing the same version I played, or, I'm not saying there are two versions, but if he's had a similar experience to what I've had, then I can totally understand why he said what he did, because I said exactly the same in my video as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also, of the reviews, and this is the thing, because one of the things we were talking about in Walkabout Mini Golf is how you were sort of speculating on the fact if like some of the content creators were somehow sent a different version or something like that. I don't know. It's bizarre that would happen anyway. But at least you would expect then it would be a quick fix for them to
but saying
send
that,
a different
I did
version.
speak to Dr. Oculus last night as well. I obviously went down to the studio and I said, look, I had fantastic graphics. I had no blurriness. It was super quick. I loved the guns, the positions. Everything was really great. And he was going, yep. I've had no issues with it whatsoever.
Yeah. It might, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It is really strange. I mean, they were talking about it on Without Parole. And on there they said, there's some detail here, but it's all hidden behind a weird resolution problem. So they're seeing the same thing as well. They're seeing this there's a problem with the resolution.
The thing is, if they're picking up on this as well, because I mean, I like PSVR Without Parole, but they've definitely got like this this leaning towards being positive on PSVR. Let's say that. I mean, I think they are positive on PSVR, and if they're picking up on this, then I think it speaks that some people are definitely having the same issues.
Yeah. It's so utterly blatant. It's not even like it looks a little bit blurry. It's I can't see that. I'm just generally can't see actual proper detail in the textures and everything because it's just not high enough res.
Yeah, that's so weird. It's like super sharp for me. It really was super sharp, because I just thought graphically it was fantastic. I even said to PD, it's one of the best graphical games in VR I've played. There's not much difference between that and the video I put out from what I could see in the headset, if that makes it any clearer for people that's listening or watching.
I would say, like for me, aside from No Man's Sky, it's the blurriest thing I've seen on the console.
It's weird.
I'll tell you what, as well, if if you look on Reddit, this is the kind of thing that gets people really riled up as well. Because if people have two contradicting opinions and both of them think they're right, you know how that's going to go.
I mean,
it's going to
I
explode.
have absolutely no doubt that what Roger's saying is what he's seen in the headset. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning how some people are getting that and some people like me aren't. That's what I'm confused about.
But I don't know.
It just doesn't seem to be close enough. It doesn't seem to be on enough of a knife edge that some people might say it's sharp. Some people might say it's blurry. It's not on that knife edge. There's a definite difference.
Yeah, it's massively.
Weird, isn't it? Yeah. Well, hopefully, I mean, they put out this thing on Twitter anyway, and hopefully because they said that directly that they've identified an issue. So maybe that is the cause of it on some headsets. Because, again, I'll just go back. You know how Reddit is, and people were saying you're not wearing the headset right and all of these other things. You go around in circles on all these discussions.
It's like, oh, wow, I'm accidentally wearing the headset totally incorrectly on this one game out of all of them I play. Yeah. You know, it's like, no.
Yeah, but hopefully it'll get sorted out. Now I'm intrigued to try it because I wasn't even. The thing is, Rush of Blood was one that I could see. I knew it was a pretty good game, but it's an on-rail shooter, and the thing is as well, this game just never really excited me. And even if I owned a PSVR 2, it wouldn't be one that I would put on my immediately to buy list. But I know a lot of people were really excited for it. And I think that's also part of the issue, because when I'm reading all these forums, when people are talking about Switchback, because it was a hyped game, there's no doubt about that, it was a hyped game. And I think people were under the impression it was I think they thought it was more than it actually was anyway, just as a game concept. Like, it's an on-rail shooter, a great one. Rush of Blood is a great on-rail shooter. So we were expecting this to be the same. And some people think it is, some people think it's not. But I do think there is a subset of people that were coming into PSVR who are new to PSVR VR for the first time, picked up PSVR 2, saw all the hype around this game and thought it was going to be this massive AAA VR game of the likes of, Resident Evil or something like that. That was never going to be the case, so I can understand the disappointment from that point of view. But what we're seeing here is different, and I can't comment on it really from any point of view of that I've not tried it. So
I mean, I'll even stand by this. I said it while we were playing Walkabout mini golf. By the way, there's a video coming out of that if anybody wants to watch it on my channel after this podcast, where we all basically chat the same sort of stuff what we are doing now, really.
That's it's about a 50-minute long video, isn't it? So it's like an extra bonus podcast if you're interested in that.
Bonus for you. But I said to you when we were playing it, I played GT7, I played Horizon, and Switchback, and out of the three games, it would be Switchback what will get me to buy a PS5 and a PSVR 2.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolute craziness. I'm at a loss. I'm totally at a loss as to how this can even happen. I mean, the whole thing of possibly being different versions, you just wouldn't expect that to happen on the sort of like the Sony store. As far as we know, it's not really set up. It's not set up to do that, is it? Really, you wouldn't think so. Well,
that's what I was speculating. Like if they get sent a key, even content creators that get sent a key early, it's to the store version. They just get a key to it. So it's bizarre that they would get a different version. But I've got to agree with Lee. The difference that people are talking about with this, it does make you think that there's two versions out there, or I don't know. It's really weird.
I mean, what was the fog like for you, Raj? Because when I went into the fog, I could see a very, very slight mirror if I concentrated. But you've got your guns and you've got the lights on it.
Yeah.
And the lights differed off into the distance, and that was really good on the version that I played. It looked really cool how that effect was.
Yeah. It does all look really good. You can see a bit of mirror in there, but in the way it sort of generally shows up in the flashlight, it's almost like it's an effect rather than an issue with the display or anything. Because, like I said before, when in the dark areas, in the black areas, it really is black. Unlike on PSVR 1, where it just plasters mirrors straight across your field of view, no matter what's going off.
Yeah, when it does go black, I think there's a part in the game when you've not long started and you're going through the ship and all the lights go and it's black and you've got like some red lights and things around you. I thought that looked really, really good how they did that. I was like, whoa, this looks so good. People are going to love this.
But here's another thing as well, though. It's like watching you play it. It was obviously the atmosphere. You were really drinking in the atmosphere as you were playing it, and other people have as well. And for me, I knew I wasn't going to be scared. I wasn't expecting to be scared, and I wasn't scared. So maybe that took something away and just made me notice issues more than I otherwise would have been, because I wasn't expecting to be, terrified and whatever. It's like the attempted jump scares just totally failed this time around, because sometimes when I'm playing a game, like a horror game, I won't be scared of playing the game, but a jump scare can still just suddenly make you jump, because obviously you're just not expecting it. And this time round, I don't know whether it's because I've just got more immune to that, or some of the jump scares were just totally telegraphed in advance. Generally, when you got towards the end of a level and everything suddenly goes black, and you sort of think, okay, something's going to jump out at me, sort of like, full on in my face, and then a few seconds later it does. And in all honesty, that's one of the few times I actually thought, oh, that actually does look clear. I can't remember if it's the end of the first or second level, it's like 2 or 3 faced headed monster sort of thing just looms at you out of the darkness, right into your face at the end of a level. And my actual thought wasn't, it was, oh, that actually looks quite clear. So...
Yeah, well, I should also point out, because there was quite a few reviews of this game as well, and the first one I watched was the VR Grid. The 2 critical reviews I saw were the VR Grid, which gave it a 6.5, and then PSVR Without Parole gave it, I think, was it that 7.5? I think
Without Parole gave it a 7, and 7. He said last night he sort of might have overrated it.
Right, okay. So they were a little bit edging more on the critical side.
Yeah.
And some people, and as well, credit where it's due. I mean, I think a lot of the reviews were even the positive ones, they did point out some people pointed out how they had issues with the visuals, but then Beardo Benjo, he doesn't do reviews, and he did point this out. He's not a review channel, so you don't go to him for reviews, but he was saying that he didn't have any issues at all. And I was reading his comments, and some of them were really, really like attacking him personally over a game, for crying out loud. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Me as well, because
I
put, look, don't want to get into any arguments, because I put a comment on saying, but I will back Ben up on this, because when I played it, I had none of these issues that what you're saying. And then they replied with the now famous comment of, is this your first VR headset?
Yeah.
Oh. It's like,
okay. So,
yeah.
Of course, you don't condone that. And like I say, you agree. So Lee agrees with Beardo on this, like no issues, no visual issues at all on this. So there's definitely like a disparity in this. It's a really odd situation, but I've got to say, like looking at this from the outside, it just makes me want to try it. I just want to try this game now.
It's just plain bonkers.
Yeah. But
even the 3D of it is really good. Like there's a woman on a ship, and it's just like floating in the air or something. It's just chucking barrels around, and they're spinning around in your face. And I thought, that was really great as well. It's just a really great time in it.
There's something with PSVR too, and it would say with PSVR, I don't know whether it's just because their binocular overlap is better, so you've got 3D wider because you've got better overlap on your vision or something. There's something more. There is. I don't mean exaggerated either. I don't mean exaggerated 3D, but there is something a bit more solid about it than, say, playing on the Quest or something else.
It's funny you bring that up.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because the last couple of weeks, when I have jumped into VR, I was thinking I'm losing like that wow of VR now, and I feel like I'm not noticing the 3D effective stuff quite so much. And I don't know if it's because I'm just playing solely on the Quest or something like that. But this is a thought that's popped into my mind a few times over the past couple of weeks, and there's definite differences between headsets in terms of how much you notice that kind of 3D effect as well. So there might be something there with the PSVR 2.
It's not even something I can point to and say, what I can visually see. It's more of a feeling that it just looks more. Yeah, more solid. Not solid is the right word. I don't know how to describe it. It just looks a bit more natural in one headset than another. But I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's Switchback anyway. Is there anything else either you want to say before we move on to something else on this?
If you're on the fence about buying it, don't wait for a patch and probably wait for a sale. I think. It's an arcade. It's an on-rails arcade shooter. If you like going for time attack, going for high scores and whatever, you know what you're getting. You'll probably get some enjoyment out of it, but I'd wait until it's like half price.
What about you, Lee? Pick it up straight away, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's my first buy. I'd be interested to know what Rog thinks if they do put this patch out, just to see if it does improve anything in his end. Because I was a bit not disappointed in Rog, but I was disappointed that he didn't get that feeling that I had when I played it. Because I spoke to him after I'd played it, and he says, "Go on, give me your thoughts on it." And I said, "Oh, I loved it. Oh, great." He went, "Well, it's not getting great reviews." And I'm thinking, why? I don't understand why it's not getting great reviews. I had a blast in it. It was really good fun.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I mean, the thing is, what I was saying when we were playing Walkabout as well, it's sort of it's had not a great launch either way. People are having a great time in there, other people are not having a great time in there, but it's not had a great launch, and it's difficult to come back from that. So I do hope that they at least acknowledge, like get a fix out there if it is that simple to solve. Because it's definitely because originally when the PSVR 2 launched, we had the big three, didn't we? The GT7, the Resident Evil, and Call of the Mountain, and then Switchback was always the fourth one that people were waiting for. So it'd be good to get those four big titles up to scratch, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we should probably get on to a little bit of news for this week. There's not been a lot, although there have been a couple that have dropped just before we started recording. But first of all, let's get into this HTC tracker. So they announced this yesterday, which is a inside-out tracker unit, similar to what they used to have before with the Vive trackers. But previously, of course, the Vive trackers, they needed base stations in order to operate. So they were basically like controllers, really. They were just extensions of the controllers. They had the same sensors that would relay the information back to the headset in order to provide tracking information. But what they've announced now is inside-out trackers. So they've got cameras built into them, and they can be used for peripherals or body tracking, and they don't even need to be paired with any particular headset. They can be used for standalone VR headsets as well. So they're 50% smaller than the previous Vive trackers as well. And they don't have a name. So I'm just showing a video on the video version of this podcast right now where they made this announcement. And they said in that they don't currently have a name for the device, but they are aiming for a release of Q3 2023, and they also don't have a price yet either. The other thing that people are bringing up on this is the battery life, because of course it's going to have some kind of processing unit built in and those cameras as well. So we'd have to wait and see on some more news about battery price and battery life and stuff. But this is an interesting thing. It's not something that immediately grabs me necessarily, but I think for a certain crowd, especially if you're in body tracking, of course, that's the thing. This is going to eliminate the need for base stations, and that's going to be a huge thing because you can use it in conjunction with standalone headsets, get body tracking in VR chat and that kind of stuff. But interesting stuff nevertheless. So, Lee, I'll go over to you first. What did you see this? What did you think?
I did. I mean, it's not something I've really looked into either, because I know a lot of people do use these type of things for VR chat, don't they? And when I watched that, did you ever watch that like VR chat documentary movie type thing? I think I mentioned it before.
I didn't, no, but I've heard about it. Yeah,
I got about 10 minutes in it, and I thought, my God. But yeah, so there's my review of
it's
that.
another world, literally. Yeah,
totally, on another planet. But do you know what about these? So it's got inside-out tracking. Would these work with like big screen VR headset? I'm going to be total noob here and ask that question. Yeah. They're completely independent, is my understanding of it. So whatever headset you're using, they can be connected to, because they work independently. Yeah, it's basically like the base stations then.
Yeah, I mean, what it is, so the fact is, because they have all their tracking and everything like that, I think once they're calibrated and paired to this dongle, I think they allow up to 5 trackers to a single USB dongle. Once they're paired to that, that's it. You don't even need a headset. You can just use body tracking without a headset, even if need be.
Well, that's kind of cool then. I mean, I can see sort of applications it would have for that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what sort of price they come out with, because I mean, how much of the base stations are quite expensive, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, the base station's I think they're about 140, 150 pounds each anyway. Yeah. But the original Vive trackers, I think they were about 100 pounds or maybe even more than that from what I remember. So the original Vive trackers were quite expensive. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the price will be interesting on these because you don't need the base stations, but they've got a lot more technology within these trackers. So I would imagine these will be more than the original Vive trackers, but we've got to wait and see on that. Yeah, Rog, what about you? What do you think of these?
Yeah, I mean, I can only really repeat what's been said, really, isn't it? It's the VR chat crowd will probably lap these up, especially people who are sort of in there but aren't using, like, you know, an index with Vive trackers or whatever. It might, again, another maybe nice little, I'll say cheap, we don't know, but a solution for sort of like indie devs who want some sort of basic, animation capture.
Yeah,
you know, not useful there, but yeah, I'm not interested. There's for me, I'd need some software that made use of it from a game point of view, I think, to get me interested, because, you know, VR chat and all that sort of thing, I've got no interest in whatsoever. So
yeah,
you know, no use for me as of yet.
No, that's the same as me, really, as well. The other thing that we can mention, other than body tracking, is you can attach these to anything. So you can have tracked objects in VR, which would be interesting to see what kind of things. I always remember the original Vive trackers, when they came out, they attached them to baseball bats and all these kinds of things to show off how they could be used. Nobody ever really used them for that. But I suppose if you've got like an independent little bit of technology like this, then we
can attach one to a golf club and use it for Walkabout golf.
Yeah, smash up your lamps. Yeah, it's so it'll be interesting to see either way what people come up with on this. I think Brad Lynch is interested because, of course, he's into his body tracking in his VR chat and stuff, and I think there's a lot of people. That's the thing. There is a lot of people. It's not for me, but I know there are a lot of people that are interested in body tracking for VR chat. So I'm sure it's going to, you know, hopefully it will be priced reasonably in order to get a lot of people in. But yeah. So we've got GDC. GDC is happening this week as well. We were almost going to delay the podcast just to see what got announced, but I don't think we're that confident that anything big will get announced, but we could be wrong. But if we are, then we'll cover it on the next episode of the podcast. But one announcement that was made just before we started recording is Pixel Ripped 1978, which... So we've got Pixel Ripped 1989, Pixel Ripped 1995, which are both fantastic games by Tabor. And this time they're sort of teaming up with Atari to make a game which is based around somebody seemingly working at Atari in 1978, designing games, but then she goes into these games and uses the character that we've come to know from the previous games as well to explore these worlds and test them and get rid of the bugs, basically. That seems to be what it's about. But yeah, this looks absolutely fantastic. This looks like this developer are definitely up in the game in this one, from what I've seen at least. I don't know what you guys think. Lee, what did you think of this?
I thought the trailer looked fantastic, and it's probably aimed more to our generation, should I say? I don't want to be ageist to anyone, but yeah, when you could see the Atari and she was working on it, and then she was jumping in and then fixing bugs, so she was actually fixing some of the games that came out on Atari as well. So I mean, that looked really cool. But I've only ever played one. I can't remember which one it was. I'm trying to think. I was like in a classroom, and I had to keep distracting.
1989,
Is that one? I had to keep distracting the teacher so I could like play on my Game Boy or whatever it was. But I couldn't get past that level because I sucked that much. So that's as far as I ever got in that. But yeah, it looks really good. I'm very, very interested to see how that one turns out.
Yeah, what do you think, Rog? Did you watch this trailer at all?
I've literally just put it up on the screen now because the very first thing I heard about was just before we started, and I saw it in the show notes.
Okay, yeah.
I literally didn't know anything about. Oh wow, yeah, it's got the old wood style.
Yeah.
VCS.
It's also got. It seems like you're actually walking through, because I've not finished either game. I should confess this, and it's not that I don't think either game is fantastic. I've just not got round to it. there's so many VR games that you just don't finish sometimes. But they are both really, really good games. But I don't remember a part in either one where you're actually going into the level and walking around like almost like a first-person shooter. And this game looks like it's got elements of that, where you are actually in these older kind of Atari games walking around the level as a first-person shooter. But yeah, that looks interesting. I'm sure they'll mix things up as they did in the first two games, because the part you played, Lee, did you get to the end boss on that part that you played?
I can't remember. I may have done. I know I kept dying all the time on the Game Boy because I just totally sucked at it.
Because it sort of comes out into almost like an AR kind of thing within the classroom at the end.
Yeah, rings a bell.
And yeah, they sort of take things up to different levels within it. It's really, it's definitely worth sticking with, that one. And this one, like I say, I think they take it to the next level. So hopefully, should be good.
This is crazy. She actually goes into crystal castles, and there's the bear in the
I know it's going into some games, right?
in front of you. Yeah, and your good grief, Yar's Revenge. I had that one. It's like, oh wow, there's massive amounts of nostalgia here, definitely.
Well, that's the thing now, because she's working with Atari. She can get all the licenses, I guess, pretty easily to just incorporate them into the game as well. So yeah, fantastic.
Even when you're looking at a screen playing like a 2D version, it's got that old style sort of Atari, I'll say copper bars, not quite that, but the blocky sort of shading that they used to have in the background to try and make it look more complex than it actually was.
Yeah, so that will be coming out in summer this year. It's for PSVR 2, PCVR, and Quest, as you would expect. So yeah, look out for that. The other thing is Ghosts of Tabor, an early access release. I don't know anything about this one, I've got to say. Lee, Rog, do any of you guys?
Absolutely. No, absolutely nothing. No,
it looks similar to Pavlov type thing. Is it multiplayer? I've seen quite like Mac in VR's been playing it, right, Rog, quite a bit.
Yeah. The people on the Rendered Reality Discord have been going nuts over this as well. As far as I can tell, I think is it like you've got like a 4-player team, haven't you? And you go out on raids collecting gear and stuff, and I'm not entirely sure what the entire point of it is, in all honesty.
Well, I'm just looking on Steam now. It says so it's a FPS, PvP and PvE survival game. So it looks like a co-op kind of survival game. But
it just looked very sort of dark and dank, and honestly, visually, it didn't appeal to me. I mean, I'm not, when it comes to sort of serious FPS and more realistic guns type shooters.
I know.
I'm not the biggest fan, and if you couple that with the very sort of dark and dank visuals, I just wasn't interested.
I mean, have you guys tried Pavlov as well?
I've tried it, but I've not got too far with it, to be honest.
I've just never installed it on the PC, but I have got it.
Back on the CV1, we should jump in sometime, because there are sort of like PvE modes, like there's like sort of Call of Duty sort of zombie modes and stuff like that. And I played that ages and ages ago, and that was quite.
I think they just put a mode out not long back. Is it called like Push and Pull, something like that, where you've got to defend an area, then you've got to come at them, and then you swap turns and do it the other way around. And the map that I saw was like massive. It was like 5 kilometers big. I thought, geez, I thought like
I think there's other stuff in there as other stuff as well, like where you can. It's same modes have been in other games, but one of them, it reminded me of one of the modes in one of the Alien versus Predator games, in which back in that one person started as an alien, and basically you had to go around and kill the Marines off, and then they joined you as an alien once you'd killed them. There seems to be something similar in Pavlov now as well, but I don't know if you're like a zombie or something, and you're hunting like the other players and stuff like that. That looks quite good. Well,
I should probably go in as well, because at least one of these, because I've got that gun stock. Need to use that gun stock as well.
Oh no!
It's up there. It's on the shelf right in front of me now, and I'm looking at it. I need to. It's all set up. It's ready to go. So I need to. And Pavlov would be probably a good game to get into with it, to be honest, because it's more. I think it's more sort of Call of Duty-ish, is it, than Contractors? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. And also, because Pavlov seems to be doing really well on PSVR 2. That's the other thing. A lot of people really like that game on that. So, and also, actually, from what I've been seeing, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is going down really well on PSVR 2 from what I've seen, and people are saying that that's the sharpest
best way
game
to play it.
Yeah. So I know it's not necessarily like a Gunstock kind of game, but that's just something I remember seeing recently. So
I'd like to see a comparison between the PSVR 2 and the PC VR version to see what that looks like. Is it released?
I think people have done it. I think people have done.
Is it out on PC VR already? I thought it was like...
Yeah, it's out. Came out this... Oh, it's today, isn't it? As we record, I think. It's out
it came out today. I did put a note on there. If you already own the Quest 2 version, you now also own the PC version on the Quest Store because it's cross-buy enabled, so you can download that if you want that version instead.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay, the other thing, just before we started recording, this is good because usually these all drop just after we've recorded.
Yeah. But, spamming the Discord with all these like tweets I saw. Oh, just very quickly as well, I saw Pico put one out. Did you see that? About they've got a big announcement coming on the 23rd. Is it 23rd?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, you posted that in the Discord. I think, Rog, you were saying, it might be a North America, USA release.
I reckon it's going to be USA release of the Pico 4. I mean, some people are going, oh, maybe it's a Pico 5. It's like, no, not this soon. No. I'd be shocked.
The only thing is, I mean, it won't be. I'm certain it won't be a Pico 5, but they did have that quick transition between the Pico Neo 3 Link thing and then the Pico 4. There was a very quick transition, but I think they were preparing people for that right when they released it because that they said...
They offered a discount on that, didn't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, it probably will be the North American release, which will be great. Although I remember seeing a news story a few weeks ago about ByteDance TikTok getting banned in the US. Is that maybe it wasn't banned? There was something going on with it anyway.
It does get brought up quite a bit about it being banned quite a lot, doesn't it? But nothing's happened as such, I don't think. No,
I mean, I know there was talk of it in this country as well, but I remember there was a particular news story a few weeks ago about it, but it just seems odd that they would go for the release now, but maybe, there's no problems with it. But I think, that's what they want. Obviously, there's a massive market in the US for Pico, so I think we'll see a lot of people picking it up if it does get a release. What date was that?
I'm sure it's either tomorrow or the 22nd or 23rd, I'm not entirely sure. But, if, like I've said before, if somebody wants a consumer-friendly wallet, best PC VR headset, I would definitely go with the Pico 4. Yeah.
Just on a quick tangent, I was thinking actually of picking up a Pico 3 just for the DisplayPort recently. What a ridiculous idea that is. But yeah, I want a native PC VR headset again, and I don't know what to go for. And the Reverb G2 is still too expensive over here. Even if you buy it on eBay, it's still like a second-hand one. They're still a little bit too expensive. They seem to have these sales in the US for the G2 where they were selling them for $400, and you just can't get that deal over here. And it's ridiculous anyway. I need to just hold off and just wait. What I want is a Bigscreen Beyond. I'm going crazy on Twitter trying to hint.
Yeah, I did see that, and I just wanted to apologise as well because you put all these comments to to say, "Oh, please send me one out," and then I put that. You said something, and then I put that's what she said, like GIF underneath it. And I thought, why would I put that? He's a serious person, and then I'm just going to drop that underneath it.
No, you call me out because I'm basically begging Darshan.
No, I didn't. If one of us could get one of them, that'd be fantastic, just to try it out.
Yeah.
No. You've got to bring enough for everybody, or nobody gets one.
That's it.
We need 3. That is 3 headsets. Thank you.
The thing is, as well, I don't want one to keep, well, I do want one to keep, but what I want is just to try it. If somebody got one and I could just try it, that would be great too. Yeah. I'm hoping VR Flight Sim guy, he lives in, I don't know if he wants to tell me where he lives, but he doesn't live like a million miles away from me or anything. So if VR Flight Sim guy gets one, I could probably pop up there and give it a try, maybe. Yeah. If you're listening, VR Flight Sim guy, then get in contact. But yeah, it looks like a good headset.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it in Discord earlier on, but the Vive, the XR Elite, Artful, who we play golf with sometimes.
Yeah.
He he picked one up because they turned up on Amazon the other day, and he got his yesterday, and he's already boxed that up to send it back. He's very disappointed in that.
The HTC, the XR Elite, yeah. It's
shocking. He says the field of view is tiny, even it's smaller than a Quest 2. He says Half-Life Alyx actually looks better streaming on a Quest 2 than it does on that. It's just bad in general, apparently. So he were majorly disappointed. It's a total rip-off at £1,200.
That sounds like another Switchback kind of thing, because I've seen so many people say that that's one of the best ones that they tried recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think did Tyler order one after trying it at one of the trade shows? But this is the thing: people are trying it at the middle of a trade show where they're all hyped up that they can't sit down and take the time with it, and they're excited to try this new thing, and they try it for 10 minutes maybe in the middle of a trade show floor, and they can't, you can't really sit down and take your time and really look at it properly. But I think is it Enders VR Arcade, another guy on the Discord, he said after seeing Artful's comment, he says, "Oh, that's the second one today or something." I've seen a person say that it's just no good.
Oh, right.
So it's like, but I think people who have got it for reviews, I don't think the embargo's up yet, is it? So we're still waiting we're still waiting for full-on reviews from people who've got actual review units. Well, it seems a bit crazy now that you can actually get one on Amazon in the UK.
Yeah, because one of the things I saw that you posted on Discord when you mentioned it, I think Artful put on because the lenses are quite small compared to is it the
Quest Pro?
The Quest Pro, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, he posted a photograph and you can clearly see, and I think he said the Quest Pro lenses are about 5.5 centimeters across or something, and the ones on the XR Elite are 3.5 centimeters across. So it's a massive drop.
Yeah,
and the ones on the Pico 4 are about 6 inch.
Are there? Yeah, but yeah, he's surprised because I was expecting that one to be a good one, but we'll see. See, when more people get... It's always the way. As soon as more people get their hands on these headsets, then you get more sort of critical analysis of them anyway, don't you?
But, I mean, he had 3 dead pixels on it as well, so...
that's good.
It's strange that they popped up on Amazon, though, right? Even if reviewers have got these in as an embargo before they can put any info out. And
that's where he got it from, yeah.
I didn't know they were on Amazon yet, but yeah. Bizarre. Okay, so, Polyarc, creators of Moss, they've announced a multiplayer game, and you can be a playtester on this. You can sign up on their website and choose to, apply to be a playtester. So I was under the impression this was going to be a completely new game, but you pointed out, Rog, in the Discord as well, that this artwork, it's actually for the multiplayer game, isn't it? That was on the upload and on the main website. So
I mean, the character-wise, it looks like characters sort of have come straight out of the world of Moss.
Yeah.
So, what exactly it is, we've no idea. But yeah, if you want to sign up for the playtest, which takes part about midway through next month or sometime, polyarcgames.com/playtests, and you can register your interest there.
Yep. And I think on Upload, they was sort of speculating this could be maybe like a Smash Brothers kind of thing. I don't know if they said that, but they mentioned Smash Brothers in there. But I guess that would make sense, I suppose, for the kind of game that Moss is, and it might make sense, but we'll see anyway.
Did it say PvP, did you just say then? Or is it...
it just said, I think competitive multiplayer, so yeah, I presume PvP, yeah.
I wonder if it's a bit like that. I don't know if you played that Divine Knockout, that DKO, what came out a few months back. I think it one of the games on. I don't think they give it away on Epic or not, but it was on PSN as well. I think as part of PS Plus. Not normally my sort of game, sort of like third person view, and it's like sort of like a few people sort of battling it out, sort of. I suppose Smash Brothers style, but in more 3D than just a side-on view.
Yeah.
And not normally my sort of thing, but I spent an evening playing it once, and I quite enjoyed it.
Well, stay tuned for that then. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get some more information on that. So I think you've mentioned the Walking Dead thing that we mentioned earlier. So Steam there's a Steam sale on at the moment. I mentioned I picked it up inside a flat game from the Steam sale, but there are a few VR games on there as well. I picked up Kayak VR actually, because I think that went down to around £15 over here in the UK, and it was one I've had my eye on for a while, and I thought I'd pick it up. Not really gone in there yet. I have briefly, but not enough to really speak about it. So I'll save that for next time, maybe. But
find yourself a good podcast to listen to while you're playing it.
Yeah. It's because it's got races and stuff, isn't it? That's what you were playing. That's some of the footage we're showing of your footage a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Basically time trials against other players' ghosts.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But yeah. Lee, there's a few bargains here, aren't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I picked up Dirt 2.0. I was speaking to you about it the other day. I think you've got this right, Rog, because I think it popped up on my Steam that you played it as well.
Yeah, it's a great game.
And it was like something like £4.70 for the game, or you could get the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC for like £8. So I picked that up.
That's a bargain.
Yeah,
that's a total bargain.
It's like 75% off or something really crazy like that. But when I went to install it, just for anyone who was thinking about picking it up, it's like 109 gig. So be aware it's all the DLC, like all these cars and all these tracks. I'm like, geez, what's going off here? But I've just installed it, but not had a chance to play it yet. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get a chance to have a quick go on that.
I mean, 100 gigs getting so sort of common now, though, isn't it? For sort of like, more mainstream games, it's crazy.
Yeah, I remember because I put that on my Steam Deck as well briefly, and it's 100 and whatever it is, 110
gig,
and you just think, well, God, I need a new SD card. But it's a great game though, especially in VR. It really is. It's one of the best races. I always rank Dirt Rally 2.0 and Project Cars 2 is my two favourites, but I'm not massively into them or anything. So I'm sure if you're a sim racer,
I'm
better ones.
Not really big into sim races, but I'm a big fan of like Colin McRae Rally and Dirt when they first came out years ago. So I'm hoping if it's something like that, but in VR, then I'm looking forward to giving that a go.
Yeah, it's great. It plays really well on a joypad as well. I say I played it quite a bit after I'd packed my steering wheel away, which I got fed up of lugging about all over the place and plugging it in. And it plays great on a joypad. You might want to change the steering linearity under the options to make it a bit less sensitive. When you're just nudging your joystick a little bit. But other than that, it plays great.
Yep, there's so Half-Life Alyx as well. I suppose that's the big one.
Yeah,
currently £20. So did you say 60% off on this one?
I think 65%, maybe, or 60. Yeah, $19.99. So if there is somebody out there who hasn't got Alyx yet, then go pick it up. I hear a lot of people complaining it's not a very good game. I mean, I loved it, but it's experience-wise and the things you can do. Because I just walk around looking at labels and picking bottles up and stuff like that. And the environments are fantastic on it. It's definitely it's brilliant.
It's a game of immersion. That's the thing.
Yeah,
and you can argue. I think you can definitely argue that gameplay wise, there's parts where it falls down, but I think as an overall immersion, to me, it's one of the best. Rog, you and I, we had a podcast about this, didn't we? Where we were talking about our top 3 VR games.
Yeah. It was like I say, It's definitely, it isn't one of mine. I think it's a shockingly average game, but it's it's an amazing and must-play immersive experience. Yeah, you've got, if you've got a headset, you've got to have it
just to be in that world, and especially with the workshop as well, with all the the free maps and experiences people bring out. I think there's even some main devs from other studios that's actually bringing maps and games out, so you could play that on Alyx as well. I need to try and get into that.
Like the Bioshock stuff, isn't there? Somebody did Bioshock type levels for it. Quite impressive. Yeah.
And then you've put down here on the list Walkabout Mini Golf, £5.69. Is that right?
On Steam it is, It's not on sale on there is a Quest Store sale on as well, by the way, until the 26th. Walkabout isn't on sale there, but £5.69 on Steam for Walkabout. Bargain.
Absolute bargain, yeah.
I mean, that's nothing, is it? It's like a pound more than a tub of gravy granules.
We're not getting into that again.
That's brilliant price.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's a must. Yeah, it's like Alex. I think honestly, I mean, you pick up Alex because you want that experience. You paid all these hundreds of pounds for a VR headset. You think, well, I've got to get Half-Life Alex. It's one of the most immersive VR games out there. Walkabout mini golf. Honestly, it's another must buy. For these kinds of headsets.
I mean, it's all we really play, right? I mean, I said this to you the other day when we were talking about Quest 3s and things. I mean, I'm still on the fence whether to get one or not, because I've sort of got one in a Pico 4. The only thing is, am I going to spend all that money just for a Walkabout mini golf simulator? Because that's all a Quest 2 really is at the minute.
Yeah, we were talking about this, and I've got to say, because I know I've seen stuff as well. You mentioned this as well, Lee, I think, when we were talking about it in Walkabout Mini Golf, about some people saying that they're not even going to pick it up. And I've seen other people mention this since then, that they're not really interested in picking up a Quest 3. For me, it's just going to replace my Quest 2. I'm definitely going to get a Quest 3. There's no doubt that I will. But I can sort of understand it, because unless Meta give us a reason to pick up a Quest 3, then there's not a lot of reason, unless you want like the better fidelity and the better streaming for PC VR. That's really why I'm getting it. So it's a different kind of situation. I think really what I'm saying here is we need some game announcements from the gaming showcase, or from when they announced the Quest 3 formally. And they've got all these studios. They've got to give us something, surely, in the next few months, you would imagine.
Yeah, hope so. It's I mean, I'll as soon as Quest 3 comes out, I'll get one anyway. It'll dump the Quest 2 and go to a 3, because why not? I want some pancake lenses.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I want that clarity as well. And if I can get, because with the better chip in there as well, the XR2 Gen 2, hopefully, if the rumours all play out, then that is what will hopefully help with compression artifacts and things like that if you're streaming from PC VR. That's one of the things I'm really excited for. But paired with the better displays, hopefully, the better lenses, then I think it will improve PC VR a hell of a lot. So for me, it's worth the upgrade. But I can understand if you've got a Quest 2 and they're not giving you any particular reason to upgrade just for the standalone side, then it might not be quite as exciting to some people, I suppose.
Yeah.
Saying that, I'll probably still get one.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Probably.
So, as Roger mentioned, there's a Quest Store sale as well at the moment. I've not looked at this. Is there anything that people have noticed on this, or...?
Not really. There's plenty of the sort of bundles, what they're doing again, where they're bundling 2 or 3 sort of similar genre games together and whacking a decent percentage off. So there's a few sort of 30 to 40% ones on there, I think. So worth having a look, but I've not had too deep a dive into it.
Okay.
Speaking of having money off and things, if people want to check the description, we have got some 25% offers off on some games. I always forget to mention all that.
Yeah, well, this is a thing, because there was a bit of controversy of this on reviews. People keep putting them in reviews on the Quest Store, don't they? Yeah, it's absolute nightmare. But this for us, like in the description to this show and on the podcast, it's just a way to support the show, to be honest. And you get 25% off as well. So that's why they're in the description. So rather than giving us any money directly, you can just get 25% off a game that you might want. So that's all in the description. We should mention that more often. I never remember to do that. I never remember to do half the stuff that I'm supposed to do on as a podcast host. So never mind. But we have got a little discussion to finish up on. We've got a few things to mention after it, but let's get into this, because this is going to be a slightly shorter show, only because there's not been a lot of news this past couple of weeks, that's all. So we're sort of scraping the barrel. But we've got an interesting topic. Rog, I'll go over to you on this. Yeah,
well, this all came about because I unexpectedly got a reply sort of, a month later or something, maybe a bit more, on a review I put on the Oculus Store for Colossal Cave, which I wasn't a fan of. There was something there that I wanted to like about it from the exploration side, but there were too many issues. And so I did put I think I put a 2-star review on the Oculus Store, saying stuff like, it feels like it was designed by somebody who'd never even played a VR game before. There were issues with the movement, with the rotation, with the speed of the rotation. So it was really uncomfortable. The way you interacted with things, the inventory, that you had controllers just floating there with no hands, and there was just so much that was just wrong. And I put it all in a review and are a bit sarky about it anyway. Now, pretty much yesterday or the day before, I got a reply from Ken Williams, who, if any retro gamers are out there who played the old King's Quest stuff and everything, is the husband of Roberta Williams, who they both, they developed those old games together, and this was like their first game in forever. And they basically put, "Thank you for your feedback. You're certainly right. This was our first VR game." Well, I'd actually said, "I don't think you've even played a VR game. Never mind, write one." But anyway, we've learned a great deal since the initial release, and we've been steadily improving the game. I'd encourage you to check it, to take a new look. We've completely redesigned the inventory system, already released, and have a major new release coming in the next few weeks, which adds hands into the game, plus teleporting and more. Best wishes. And so it sort of got me thinking about games where I have left reviews before, or left poor reviews, and then have never gone back. I don't ever really sort of keep track of games to see what happens afterwards, after those initial releases. If a game sort of disappoints me at the beginning, it's very, very rare that I'll ever go back to it. And bizarrely, I don't know what it was with this one, and maybe it's because I recognise the name, from the guy who replied from all the King's Quest stuff. It made me take a bit more notice. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's sort of I should be sort of careful about being influenced here, But I think I might keep an eye on it to see if this new patch does turn up, and I may go back and take a look at it. And I was thinking about Arcade Legends as well, which is another game which I didn't give a particularly good review to because that had problems with like reprojection, and that totally put me off. And one of the developers there replied as well, saying, "Oh, that's something we might be able to take a look at and maybe patch." And I've never been back to that either. And do you ever go back and look at games, month, 2 months, 6 months later, and see if they've ever been improved?
It depends, I suppose. For me, it's like it depends on the game and whether, even if they'd solved some of the problems that I had an issue with, whether it would make the game good or not anyway. I mean, the big one on this, of course, is No Man's Sky. I liked it at launch anyway, but you look at that and how that's improved over time, and you just think of the amount of effort that they've put in to improve that game. You think if that could apply to certain other games and I've just missed them, I think it's an interesting point to bring up, because I'm sure there's some stuff that I've played, never gone back to, never even thought of going back to, and yet they've improved silently in the background over time. So yeah, it's a good point to bring up. But yeah, I can't think of any specific examples where I would say that it's like, I feel like a lot of the games where you would criticise certain things on VR mechanics and things like that, there's other aspects of the game that also play a part into whether you want to revisit them or not. You can have a thought of, this is an interesting game, but the VR mechanics suck. It's like Fallout 4, for example. A lot of people have issues with how Fallout 4 was when it first launched, and of course it didn't have a great launch, but there was a significant amount of game there that would incentivize you to go back anyway, but especially if you heard that they'd improve VR interactions and things like that, I suppose. So there's other aspects that go into it, but I don't know.
But yeah, I think I'm going to go back and have a look at Arcade Legends again, because the premise of that was something I liked, which is basically you run an arcade, from scratch, from an empty warehouse, you build it up into an arcade. But it was just the performance at the time really put me off.
That's why I got really bad motion sickness playing that, and I mean like after 10-15 minutes. So I wonder if that's something to do with that, maybe. If it's the reprojection that's quite bad.
Oh, right, I don't know.
Could be, yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is part of the reason why performance is so important in VR, because some people do get really badly affected by it. And it's not always the same thing. It's not always like you can play one game that's reprojecting and you're absolutely fine, and then another game and it affects you in a different way, I suppose. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of any specific examples where I noticed a massive difference. That's the thing.
The only one I can think of really is, I bought Subnautica way back when it was like really way alpha, and it was like pick a fish up, swim to this, and there was no storyline, there was nothing to it. And I was like, I got really bored of it within like 20 minutes. I was like, I don't know why I bought it, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. And then look at it now as a finished game. There's a massive storyline and an arc to it, and all the things you do in that, how they progressed that on over the years.
That's a good one, because a lot of the ones that are released in early access, Subnautica was early access for a long time as well. So that's probably points to ones where you can go back to them, these early access games, and as long as they keep working on them. Do you remember there was a game, an old VR game? It was like an RPG, a medieval kind of RPG, Shadow something, I think. Not Shadow Legend, that was a good one, but there was another game anyway, and it was touted because they had all these screenshots that had these really impressive graphics, and when it came out it was a complete mess. It really was. And they kept saying how they were going to improve it, and I went back in a few times to that, but it never felt like a good game at all, and it's disappeared now, but I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, that's one of the examples where I can think I went back occasionally to give it a try.
I mean, sometimes occasionally you do go back and have a look. I know the cabin's they're on the 4th patch now. I think they're on the 1.04, right. So they've patched that 4 times since release already. I mean, that's a good thing and a bad thing, I suppose. You can look at it. I'll always look at it as a good way, that they are trying to fix things that people have reported and it's not right with the game. So as long as they keep doing that, I'd sooner see devs keep bringing game patches out. But as to going back into them, I don't know. I can't really think of any.
I'm trying to think of other games, and I'm struggling. But I think it's probably just easier to so easy to forget about some of this stuff, because you look at it, think, oh, this is a bit crap, move on to something else, and then it's just totally gone out of your mind, isn't it? It's like you just move on to the the next best thing.
Mentioning No Man's Sky, when I first bought that one, that very first release, and I thought it was going to be this massive open, like all these planets that you can explore, and I didn't really know what was going on, didn't know what was happening within, and I just thought, I don't like this at all. And then now look how much it's evolved now into what game it is, and how they keep evolving it all the time.
Yeah, I love that game when it first launched anyway, but it's definitely, you can't deny it's a better game now.
It's just, it's a totally different game now. You wouldn't be able to recognise it, I don't think, from the first one you played. But then they add things VR as well, like same as Subnautica. They do all this and make this fantastic game over the years, and then, we'll just bang VR on top of that for you as well.
Yeah. The one I was talking about earlier is called the Soul Keeper VR. I don't know if you remember this, either you guys. It came out in 2017 originally, but it was early access. Right. But there was a lot of people that were talking about it because the graphics looked incredible, but I don't know if they've even kept up with it. I don't even know when the last update was, to be honest. I can't even see on here. But this is one of those ones where it could have been really good. It was at that time in 2017 where you had these. It was promising a bigger world, like a bigger open world. It was an RPG and had fantastic graphics, but it just didn't. It was so janky and there were so many bugs in it that you just couldn't get past it. And it doesn't look like they've stuck with it, unfortunately. But there are examples. There are examples of games that have, and like you mentioned, Subnautica, the ones that come out in early access, they've got a team behind them that continue to develop these kinds of things. So it's probably worth going back to a few. One thing I'll mention is just, I don't know if you guys do this as well, but whenever I get a new VR headset, a PC VR headset, I always go back to like the older games like Job Simulator and Fantastic Contraption and The Blue and these kinds of things. These are like the ones that I'll always go back to and just test to see how they look. I love doing that as well. I think that's part of nostalgia, I think.
Yeah. I never played Fantastic Contraption,
Yeah.
They gave that away with the Vive, didn't they, when it first came out?
I think they did. Yeah.
I know a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've only ever played the demo or Job Simulator as well on the original PSVR.
Oh no, I've played all the way through Job Simulator, but I remember Steve on VR Roundtable. I was because I always felt like Job Simulator was really good. I loved it, and he liked it, but he didn't ever feel the same way. Like when Vacation Simulator came out, I was really looking forward to it, but I don't think he could quite understand it. And when it actually came out, I was a bit like, yeah, I'm sort of past this now. But my kids love it anyway, so.
Oh, I just thought
no harm.
Very quickly mention, Gary, my mod mic just fell off my headset then. So you might want to check the audio towards the end of this, just to edit that bit out. I'm now physically holding it at the side of my headset just so it doesn't drop off.
Okay, I didn't notice it, but yeah.
No, I didn't hear it.
That's fine. Anyway, is there anything else either you want to mention on this topic? Because we should revisit some of these kinds of topics from time to time, I think.
Perhaps people could leave some in the comments below as well, if they've got any games that they could maybe suggest started out really bad and they went back to that, ended up being pretty decent.
Especially if there's anything we've covered and we weren't that keen on it, and it's had a bit of a major upgrade. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I might have to go back through and see. I can't even remember half the stuff we've even talked about.
Yeah, I know. I did put on Twitter. I put on a thing because I thought I'm going to up our game here. So I thought I'm going to put a tweet out to ask for any questions, because we're going to be recording in about an hour. So if you've got any questions, then we can bring them up on the show. But no responses. No responses.
Oh, I didn't see that
at all.
Oh, I think it's probably I'm busy on Discord. But yeah, we should put that out. If anyone does have any questions they'd like to ask us, drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Podcast.
No, but I was thinking, because I've seen and heard other podcasts do this before, where they put like a tweet out a couple of hours before they record, and then they can get a few questions. And I thought I'm going to give it a try. So I know we've not got many followers yet on Twitter, so it's not a surprise. But I thought I'd start the ball rolling anyway. So okay. Just to finish off, so Breaches, this is just because we've got a section here, upcoming games. Breaches is a big game. I think a lot of people are interested in it. It's Rainbow Six style kind of game. I think Rendered Reality big on this as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they love it. Yeah.
So April the 16th, it's coming out, 5v5 team-based shooter. Yeah. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Again, this is sort of going back to what we were saying earlier. This is another excuse for me to get out the gun stock.
Yeah. Apparently, for a game that you need, sort of like the preview version, you had to sideload it. But to say you had to do that, apparently they've had 60,000 people play that game. Yeah.
It's very popular, isn't it? I mean, quite a few of my friends have been playing it, and they're just all singing the praises for it, saying you've got to jump in this game, you've got to jump in it.
I wish I was better at these kinds of games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm awful. Modern Warfare 2 is my limit, and it took me that long to level up to Prestige because I wanted those guns akimbo so I could one-shot folks for a laugh. And then by the time I did it, they'd nerfed it. It took me that long.
Oh, really? Oh, dear. Yeah, it's one to... I mean, that's pretty impressive, though, isn't it? I mean, that many people that are playing this, so it's going to be a pretty good success. Yeah. These are going to get picked up by Meta, aren't they? They're going to get bought out.
Yeah, especially for like a preview where you've literally got to sideload it. So therefore, technically, you're supposed to be a developer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, just to finish off, Lee. You're going to an event, aren't you, on the 1st of April?
Yeah, there's an event in London. It's called, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but WASD or WASD.
WSD.
Yeah, it's like a gaming event, right? For developers, and I know there's some PlayStation 2 stuff going there. I think Supermassive are there as well, so I'll grill them while I'm there and see if there's sort of this patch out when I go. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to that. I'm going with Dr. Oculus, so if anyone's going to it, I'm going on the Saturday. It's the 1st of April. I think... is it 3 day? Thursday, Friday, Saturday? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I'll be there with Dr. Oculus.
Yeah, 30th of March to the 1st of April, it says, yeah.
So if you see me, don't be shy. Come and say hello. I'm not like a Cardassian. I don't have no security or anything like that. So yeah, come say hello and we'll have a chat. And, if you want a picture and autograph, that's no probs.
Just no eye contact. He makes that perfectly clear. No eye contact.
But yeah, come and say hi. I'm looking forward to it because I've not been to EGX. I've not been to none of these events. So yeah, I think GT's going down on the Saturday. I think Clickster, another of my VR friends, are going to be there on the Saturday. Power on VR. I don't know about Mac. I don't think he's going, but yeah, there'll be one or two of us down there, VR wise.
Mac went to Pico, I saw on Twitter.
Yeah, he did
somewhere.
with Power On and Clickster, for some sort of VR thing. I don't know what they went for.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was looking because I didn't know they had it.
But they've not messaged me yet, Pico.
I didn't know Pico had offices in the UK.
Yeah, I think it's some in London, right?
Do, yeah,
in London.
Is it? It must be. Yeah, it must be. I would imagine. Yeah. So so WASD, check it out. I was I've only recently heard about this one. I think. Did Dr. Oculus mention this on the podcast? By the way, should mention Paradise Decay and Dr. Oculus released a podcast, first episode. What's it called? Backseat VR podcast, isn't it? Yeah. So I think it's sort of semi-regular. I think they're just going to do a podcast every now and again. But yeah, that's worth watching on Paradise Decay's channel as well. Some interesting thoughts there. They go through a few different topics.
Yeah, just while mentioning podcasts as well, MainFan often leaves a comment on our videos, and they've mentioned RECENTERED a few times on their podcast, the VR gaming podcast. If anybody out there wants a really nice chilled podcast to listen to late at night, VR gaming podcast, go and check that one out. It's a really good late night listen.
Yeah, totally.
Agree. Yeah, it is. Yeah. No airs and graces, and they definitely give honest opinions on stuff as well. So, I really like that podcast. One of my favourites, to be honest. So MainFan has got his own channel, and so is the other guy, Alex, Inside VR. VR Inside, his channel, doing really well, his channel as well. So, go and check out all of that stuff. There's a lot of podcasts. I pretty much listen to. Well, I don't listen to every single VR podcast religiously, but I'm pretty sure I catch up on most of them every now and again. So, love podcasts. But that's probably the end of this one, I think. Shall we wrap things up? Is there anything anyone wants to mention to finish off on?
Let's get out of here.
I didn't say anything in case I cut Rog off, so I'm not going to say anything this week.
Okay, well, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and hopefully there'll be a bit more news. A little bit of a quiet week this week, but we'll be talking about whatever drops in the meantime. But thank you very much for watching and listening to this, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care.
Hello, welcome to RECENTERED episode, what are we on? 16, isn't it? Right,
it is.
I'll start again.
See, this will go in the extras, guys, so you're welcome.
Yeah, bloopers. We could have about 5 hours worth of bloopers, to be honest.